Hey, welcome to the Not the Front Row podcast with Matt and Jen.
In honor of the baseball season kicking back up here in the States, we're going to be taking a look at the movie Sandlot. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the podcast.
That was good.
Boom!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Not the Front Row podcast. We are doing The Sandlot, like we said in the intro. The movie directed and narrated by David Mickey Evans. Sandlot is a coming-of-age movie based in the 60s.
So the movie had a $7 million shooting budget. It made $34 million at the box office, but $76 million from VHS and DVD sales.
We definitely Googled that same thing and got the same exact answer.
At least we're consistent.
So, yeah, 76 million. So I guess what, 110 million in total?
That's not much.
Which is not a lot but for a $7 million movie, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't ask for much more than that. And I wanted to ask you, because you were much older than I was when this came out, a lot older. I wasn't born yet. This came out in 93.
You were not born yet.
I was born in 94. This came out in 93. So I wanted to ask you what it was like when this movie came out, because I don't know if it had a big impact on the teens.
I did not see the movie in the theater, unfortunately. But I will tell you, when I first saw this movie, I was enthralled. I loved it. It was one of my favorite movies growing up. It inspired me to try to create my own Sandlot. Didn't work out, but it was I loved it. All of my friend group loved it. We all played softball because we were all girls.
Oh yeah, sure.
But we all absolutely love this movie. We actually still talk about it to this day, periodically.
Was it talked about a lot back then too? They said it got like good reviews, but it wasn't like
honestly,
success.
I don't know. Like my friend group talked about it all the time because we loved it, but I don't know that I ever really heard about it other than my own personal circle. I mean, I don't think
it's on par.
I think it's become more
it's a cult
iconic
classic
than it was back in the day. I don't think it was very popular. I mean, as you can see, I think Rookie of the Year came out the same year and made a lot more money than this movie did.
Yeah, 2 baseball movies
was much
in
more,
the same year. 2 they're very different stories though.
Little Big League actually came out the year after, so it was a big baseball movie era for kids.
So we can talk about real quick why, or I guess how David Mickey Evans actually came up with the story. So David Mickey Evans' brother actually was trying to play with some older boys who were playing baseball, and they wouldn't let Evans' brother play with them. Eventually they lost a ball over a brick wall, and David thought that he could go get it to get on their good side. However, when he hopped the wall to get the ball, he found a giant dog named Hercules waiting for him, and the dog bit him.
It did bite him.
And that is the story that's the story that inspired this movie, Sandlot. So it was all pretty much having to his brother, mostly, who was the nerdy kid who couldn't join. And then David was the one who went over the wall and got bitten. So that's how the story came about. One last thing to note is the Sandlot was actually in the center of a huge lawsuit, which almost had a major impact on Hollywood. A man named Michael Polidoros sued 20th Century Fox, claiming that his former classmate, David Mickey Evans, the director of this movie and writer, had based the character of Squints on him, and that it caused him embarrassment and humiliation. And a judge decided that there wasn't enough similarity to justify the lawsuit, meaning that movie studios could continue using characters inspired in part by real-life people. So
Squints was a great character, by the way.
Yeah, Squints
is
amazing.
I don't know why he was so upset, because he was awesome.
But the ramifications of him winning that lawsuit would have been pretty damning for Hollywood, considering they wouldn't exactly be able to base characters off real-life people.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Imagine nowadays.
Back in, I guess, when he sued them, it was a little while after the movie came out. So it would have been really detrimental to a lot of stories. Like, nobody could ever base a character off you if anybody wanted to.
Would that be without permission?
I'm assuming without permission,
yeah.
Because they didn't ask him. But like you said, Squints is a great character, so I don't know why he would be Squints. So upset with. Yeah. So.
Did you see his what he wanted to be for good behavior for the movie?
No.
So he demanded a Playboy magazine as good behavior for the movie, which
for
they
being
did
like a
get,
good character or
for like
doing a good job.
As a child on set, and they did get a Playboy magazine.
And he was 13. Or how old was he?
I think
the
kids
were like 13?
Between like 12 and 13.
Yeah.
I think Smalls was the youngest at 11, and Benny was not Benny, but Michael Vitar was 15.
So he at 13, he asked for a Playboy magazine,
and he got it
for being good.
Like, here you go.
That's great. And just one last thing about the movie, it's not a fact, but this movie really reminds me of that old saying where it's you don't know you're in the good times until they're over.
Yeah.
And it really puts you back in those times when you were with your friends playing games back in the day.
When I watched this movie, I vividly remember everything about that time period.
Yeah,
as
when
a
you're with your
child.
friends during the summer.
And it was just it's so cool. It brings back those memories.
Yeah, and the other saying that's been around the internet for a little while now is one day is going to be the last day you and all your friends hang out together and nobody knows it. So it's like a very
Are you trying to make me cry?
no, it's
kidding.
very very reminiscent of that saying. This movie puts you right back in those times when you were hanging out with your friends in the summer. Maybe last summer that you were all together, but nobody really knew it.
I can't believe you weren't born when this movie came
Yeah,
out.
I was
So
negative
old.
1. This movie came out. How old were you when this came out? You were in high school.
13.
Oh, you were in middle school then, right?
7th grade, 8th grade.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny because this is one of those movies that I wish I could go back and see it for the first time again.
Yeah, that was the
You
other thing I
know?
was gonna say. I wish I could watch this for the first time, especially as an older kid, because I saw it when I was so young, and you did too.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to see this for the first time as an adult, or get another movie that's like this as an adult. We don't get many movies that are a coming of age story.
And
like
it holds
this
up.
anymore.
It
Yeah,
holds up
it
all
holds up
these years
so well.
later, you know? And people still, you see baseball teams, I think who was it, the Red Sox or somebody did like a parody of it a couple of years ago. And
Yep.
I mean, people still love it. So that's awesome.
All right, so getting into the movie, the first interaction with Bill, I didn't like. Bill seems like a huge dick to Smalls.
I disagree.
He just
I
plays
think
him
they're
off.
getting used to
kinda.
each other. I don't think he plays.
I guess because he is a stepdad. But
Yeah. I think the funniest thing about that is that Smalls can't decide whether to call him Dad or Bill.
Yeah, he's like,
Dad,
hey.
I mean, Bill.
And then later he's like, hey, Bill, I mean Dad.
Yeah, I love
He
that.
does
I
that
think
throughout the
that's so
whole
cute.
movie. Until the end. I think he just calls him Dad.
Yeah, at the very end. I think I think in the narration it says, and from then on I had no problem just calling him Dad. I don't think he's a jerk to him. I think they're just getting comfortable with each other. And I think, although when I was watching it last night, Ethan says, who doesn't know how to throw and catch a ball?
Yeah, poor Smalls has no idea how to just be a human when it comes to playing sports.
He gets there quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't like Bill. Or I should say, I didn't like Bill at all when I watched this last night. And I didn't realize how much I didn't like Bill in the beginning.
I don't have.
He's like, hey, you want to teach me how to play catch? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then Smalls sits there for a couple of seconds and he's like, and he does this like,
Well, he says he can't do it right then, right?
no. He just says, yeah, I'll teach you.
He said, I told you I would.
Yeah,
But it's like dark. He's in like his pajamas.
he's like, yeah, I told you I would. And then Smalls sits there and waits for him to say something, and Bill doesn't say anything back. So Smalls says, okay. Smalls is just sitting there because he doesn't know what to say. He's like, okay. And then he just kind of like, that's it. So I didn't like Bill in the beginning, but. And then we see the largest brimmed hat I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh my goodness.
On Smalls.
That's so funny.
I didn't know they made hats with brims that large, but that brim is obnoxiously large for a fishing hat, even.
I think it's so fitting of Smalls though. To
Oh
have that
yeah.
hat.
He's such a weird kid in the beginning. And that
But
fishing hat
I
fits him
think
perfectly.
I think he's so endearing though, because he's kind of like so naive to things, and like so I think he's trying to navigate through this like new world with his dad and moving to a new neighborhood, and I
Yeah.
just think he's so endearing as a character.
Yeah. There's the part where he's trying to weasel his way into the baseball game because he's just sneaking his way
He's sneaking
past
away
the gate.
behind the bushes and everything.
Yeah,
and
he's
just
walking.
pops up.
He's walking, and then the ball gets hit towards him,
Oh,
and poor Smalls just misses completely. And then the kids call him a goofus,
yeah, a goofus.
which I didn't know if that was a 60s term. I've never heard goofus in my life because obviously doofus is.
I've only heard it in that movie.
Yeah.
I've never heard it used.
I've
any
never
other
heard
place.
goofus before, so that was pretty funny. There was a lot of funny.
Well, did the
insults
kids call him a
and
goofus?
jokes.
No, because he goes around and goes, "Don't be a goofus. Don't be a goofus."
Oh right, yeah,
right?
he's like, "Don't be a goofus. Don't be a goofus."
I kind of like it.
And he misses the ball. All the kids laugh at him, and he tries to throw it back, and his throw is god awful. It's comically bad how he throws that ball.
Well, I was actually reading. They asked him about that, and he actually knew how to play baseball.
Yeah, he had to
pretty
pretend
well.
like
he
he
had to
didn't
pretend
know
like he
how,
didn't. So
yeah.
I think the fact that it was so overdone made it even better.
Yeah, because like nobody throws like that, and you can tell he's trying on purpose to be really bad
Yeah.
at throwing the ball. So he tries to throw the ball back, fails completely. All the kids just fall on the ground laughing, and then he whispers to himself, "He said my life's over." And then he walks away, which is such a kid thing to do because his whole world revolves around trying to be friends with these kids right now.
Think about it when you're that age, though.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
whole world revolves around.
Yeah, just like people in high school
those
think their
little
whole world
things.
revolves
Yeah.
around high school. It's the same thing when he's trying to make friends with the kids at the baseball
Poor
diamond.
Smalls.
And throughout the movie, they have narration. It was actually done. The narration actually is done by.
It's done by David Mickey Evans.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
done by David Mickey Evans, who was the writer and director. But his narration does a really good job of teasing the situation that he gets in, which he keeps calling the biggest pickle of his life.
The biggest pickle I've ever been
and
in.
Yeah, and I think if I saw this movie for the first time, or if I could go back and see it for the first time and just forget everything that happened, I think he does a really good job of setting up or enticing you to keep watching to see what the biggest pickle of his life is. But they do a good job setting up Smalls and the kids on the baseball diamond and pretty much their whole little neighborhood they have. And there's one scene where he's in his room playing with his robot toys and the ball.
The erector set.
The erector set. And I don't know if you noticed this, but his mom reacts to the ball hitting her before it hits her.
Oh, really?
She goes, ow! And then it hits her.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, she flinches and then the ball hits her and the sound comes on. So she reacts before it actually hits her, which I thought was really funny. Later on, Bill finally...
Wait, hold up.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't know if you had anything.
I love when the mom is talking to him about like getting into a little bit of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, no, what mothers was it? He goes, none mothers, I guess. I think that's so...
None mothers.
I love that he says that. I don't know why.
He has a weird way for him to say it. I thought he said no mothers there.
No, he says none mothers. And I just think that's so funny to me. I don't know why. Because he's so like...
Weird.
Not even weird. Like you can tell he's very intellectual. Like he's very smart. Yeah. And then when he uses the improper grammar, it just cracks me up for some reason. I don't know why. Those are the little things I love about that movie. Oh.
Just for reference, we're recording in our parents' basement. So if you hear a flush or a creak, that's what it's from.
One of these days, we'll have a studio.
So eventually, he asks Bill again. He's like, hey, can you teach me? Smalls asks Bill, teach him how to play catch finally.
Yeah.
And Bill's like, no.
Bill's like, dude, I'm working.
Yeah, Bill's like, I'm really swamped right now.
And the mom's like, can't you just take 20 minutes? Come on, Bill.
Yeah, and Smalls is just trying to get his mom to leave it.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, Bill, how about now, Bill?
Hey, Bill.
Bill.
It's time.
And he's like, all right, fine. So he tries to play catch with Smalls. And Smalls is so embarrassed from the baseball field that he just runs up to his dad to give him the ball back.
The
and his dad has no idea.
His face is so... He's just like,
Bill is
what the hell is this child doing?
Bill is like, there's no helping this child with baseball. He's a lost cause. So
poor Smalls.
They start playing. He tries to teach him how to play catch, and he's like, keep your glove in front of your face. And Bill chucks the ball at him and hits Smalls right in the eye.
That is the most forced catch.
Yeah,
because
it's in the glove.
Is like he gets it in the glove and then like hits himself in the face.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny.
Yeah. So again, the child actor had to pretend not to know how to catch a ball. So
yeah,
he just slaps himself in the face with his own glove.
But I almost think I can almost see somebody like Smalls actually like catching it and still hitting himself in the face with it. But there was one fact in my research that the prop master, I think his name is Terry Haschel, if I'm saying that right, gave Dennis Leary, who plays Bill, the glove. And it was signed by Mickey Mantle, who is obviously a great Yankee player. And Dennis Leary refused to use the glove because he's a Red Sox fan, and those two do not go well together.
And so he had to get a different glove, right? Or he pretty much had to get a glove that
I think
he was fine with working.
Here's a different one. Here's a new glove for you, Dennis.
Later on, Smalls is sitting on this porch with a black eye after his family slapped a steak on his eye.
So gnarly.
Steak. Just slaps it, and she's like, "Oh, that's for dinner later, Bill." And Bill slaps it right on his face.
That for dinner later.
Yeah, I know.
We'll just wash it off.
But he just slaps the steak on his eye.
It's so gross.
But later on, he's sitting on the porch with his black eye, and Benny comes up for the first time to talk to him because obviously Benny felt pretty bad about the baseball diamond thing. So Benny comes up to him and says, "Hey, come on, we're gonna go play. We need a ninth person on the team." So this is the first time he gets invited to go play baseball with them. And this is where we get the intro to all the kids.
Is this where they were outside of the store?
Yeah, outside of the store,
yeah. Themselves, yeah.
But you get introduced to all the kids, and I don't think there's one kid in this movie I didn't like. I don't think.
No, they're all great. They all play the characters that they're meant to play very, very well.
Yeah.
They're just like solid kid actors.
Yeah.
And most of them were virtually unknown.
Right, yeah. I
Or
don't think,
if not all of them.
I mean, watching this now, I don't think I recognize anybody from that cast. When I
I've
was a kid.
seen Chauncey Leopardi, I think that's how you say his name, the one who plays Squints,
Yeah.
in several roles. But other than that, Benny doesn't act anymore. Mike Bitar, who played Benny, doesn't act anymore.
Yeah, they all did a really good job as the kids. The casting, I think, was perfect for everybody, especially Ham. I mean, Ham is...
Oh my gosh.
Ham is beautiful.
Oh, he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he's been
very,
around
very
a lot,
relevant. He actually has his own clothing line.
Does he?
Based on the Sandlot. It's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
I forget what it's called. Hambino Collection or something
so
like that.
cool.
It's really cool.
Just one fact I saw about his casting was he was the very last one cast for the movie.
Really?
They didn't have a Ham when they were about to get on the flight to go to start filming.
Oh wow! And he's such a pivotal character.
Yeah,
I
figured he would have been one of the first, but they didn't have a Ham when they were going to go shoot, and he sent in a tape. I forget if he sent in a tape or they asked him to do a thing right in front of them, like just act real quick, and he did the Ham act, and they were like, let's go.
He's so good.
And so they brought him on the plane with them, right? Like the day
cool.
before
That's cool
they casted him as the last second cast because they didn't have a Ham yet. But he does a great job as Ham. All the kids, the twins or the brothers do a really good job together. Timmy and Tommy. Yeah, everybody does a really good job. So this is where they go to the baseball diamond and they start trying to play an actual game or just trying to practice, and they realize how bad Smalls is again at baseball. He runs the ball in to the pitcher. He can't catch. He falls backwards after Benny tries to hit him an easy ball.
But I think this is where you see Benny really come out as like the leader of the group, and he really genuinely cares to bring Smalls in kind of into the fray.
Yeah,
and I really love that about him. And from what I was reading, all of the characters actually really looked up to him. Not that he was much older; he was only 15, but they really looked up to how cool and calm and collected he was on set. And this was his first. He never played in a role before, so he did a really good job.
Yeah, he seems like that kind of kid back then. He was like a very leader type and nice to everybody. But in the movie, the kids are not nice to, other than Benny, the kids are not nice to Smalls at all. They call him some very 60s insults. He says he's a weenie, and they say Squint says L7 weenie, and he makes a square signal with his hands, and then goes, Oscar Mayer even.
Foot long.
And just goes in on him, and then Benny goes, he's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you run like a turtle.
A duck.
Yeah, he's like, you run like a duck. He's like, yeah, so.
KK, but I'm part of the game, right?
KK. So
I can't help it. I literally know this movie word for word. It's ridiculous.
So I love the insults that they talk about.
They are great.
There's some really good insults in this movie.
Because they're so childlike. It's so awesome.
Yeah. And like they say shit. That's the only curse word they ever say in the movie is the kids say shit twice.
Yeah.
So there's all these insults and there's no cursing or anything. So yeah, Benny's like, hey, shut up guys, you're all losers too, kind of. So they try.
I think you call them losers.
Yeah. But he puts them in their place.
You all have your own faults as well.
He tries to he puts them in their place, and they try, and then Benny goes out to help Smalls out.
Oh, and he talks about how when he throw a paper.
Throw it like paper
route,
used to be a paper boy, or he used to help out on a paper route, and then he's like, just put your glove up in the air, I'll do the rest.
Yeah.
So then Benny hits him a ball right to his glove. Smalls sticks his glove in the air and he catches it, and then all the kids are like, all right, let's play some ball. After they play for the day, they go back. Benny and Smalls are walking. And right before Smalls goes back into his house, Benny goes, hey, you got a fireplace? He's like, yeah, why? He's like, throw that hat in there, because he's still wearing the fishing hat with the large brim.
But I think the best part of that is at the end of the movie when he's doing the play-by-play, he's wearing that hat. He never got rid of it, which I think is really cool.
One of the next times we see them is when we get the camp out scene, or when they're talking about doing the camp out because they need to teach Smalls about the monster.
I forgot one thing about Benny and Smalls. They actually brought those two actors in 2 weeks before everybody else because they wanted to build that kind of relationship between the two of them. And they had such good chemistry that all of the other kids thought they were like really good friends before they even before the movie, because they were just had such good chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah, they seemed like they had good chemistry together. Yeah. I mean, all the kids did. I don't think there was anybody in there that didn't seem like they didn't want to be part of that group, or didn't fit in with the group. So they're playing baseball again later on, and they hit the ball over the fence. I'm like, oh, we'll just go play tomorrow. And Smalls like, no, let's just go get it. And all the kids are like,
so naive.
Kids are like, no, you're crazy. What are you talking about?
The beast.
The beast. And then he's like, all right, peek over that fence over there. Or look under. They tell him
down. No, that's in the camp.
Do they tell him to look under that little hole?
Oh, yeah, look into the hole. Yeah.
Yeah, to find the baseball. So he sees the baseball.
Took it.
He sees the baseball sitting there on the other side of the yard where the fence is. And I think this is where you see just a breath.
The paw, I thought. Didn't the paw grab it?
It might be the paw, yeah. Something happens to the ball where it gets grabbed, or you see a breath of dirt or something. And it takes the ball, and Smalls freaks out. He's like, someone took the ball. And they're all looking at him like, yeah, no shit. We told you. And then he's like, what was that? And then they all get together and go, camp out. And so
this is one of the best movies. Like the song for that part couldn't be any better. I love that song. I think this movie is why I love that song. But
yeah, there's a lot of good music in this, right? Yeah, there's a lot of good songs in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they go to the camp out scene, and this is where we get some great lines like s'more.
Yeah.
Ham tries to ask him if he wants a s'more, and Small said, s'more what? S'more what? He's like, how can I have s'more of something if I haven't had it yet?
And here comes the infamous, you're killing me, Smalls.
You're killing me, Smalls. And Ham is so good in this scene because Ham is so taken aback that Smalls doesn't know what a s'more is. Yeah. So he teaches him how to make a s'more, which is pretty cool.
You wonder, where was this child before he moved to this town?
Yeah, he must never really have had any of those social interactions with friends that much.
Yeah, and I think you see that when the mom's talking to him about when they were doing the erector set scene, where she's talking to him about I need you to get out there and make friends. Yeah. It doesn't seem like he really ever had
very classic mom
that
scene.
Camaraderie.
You're so smart, but you need to go out and get in trouble. Go do something. So that was very classic mom there of nerdy kids. So this is where we get the introduction to the beast and his backstory, the monster on the other side of the fence.
Yes,
which is a great backstory because I love how they set up this monster dog.
It's the
on the other side of the fence.
Ridiculous thing.
In the beginning, Squints is telling everybody about the thing, and he's like, it killed 120, and then he pauses and he goes, no, 173 guys. He just jumps the number by 53 people. He said it killed 173. He just jumped a huge number up to say how many guys it's killed because the dog. The intro was the dog used to be a junkyard dog and used to defend the yard from robbers. And I like that the children are so innocent that they really believe that this dog killed 100 and some people without any and they believe. And then the cops got involved because they said there's too many robbers gone missing around the town, so we have to figure out what's going on.
What was his uncle, Squigman Palladorus or something like that?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was his great-grandfather or something.
I think it was his uncle.
Yeah, okay. But he looks just like Squints.
We sound real dumb.
He looks just like Squints. With the glasses, and he does stuff. Yeah. He pushes the glasses up with his hand and stuff. So he looks a lot like Squints, but he's a police chief, and he goes and they confront the owner of the junkyard and the owner of the dog. And this is where you see the dog puppet for the first time, and this to make the dog insanely massive.
It's like throwing
whole cow, whole cows
ribs and stuff. It's
into
ridiculous.
The trailer.
It's so funny.
Yeah, and the dog's eating all the bones, and they said it ate all the men, bone and all. So they think this dog just ate all these people, and then the cops told the owner of the dog in the junkyard you got to put him away somewhere.
But the fact that they still think it's the same dog.
Yeah, this dog's lived this long.
The dog's 75. Yeah.
This massive creature has just been living in this yard for this long. But in the story, the owner, the junkyard owner, is like, how long do I have to keep the dog here?
Chained
and you get another chained up. And you get another infamous scene where Squints' uncle is like, forever.
And they just keep zooming in closer and closer to his mouth.
And Squints is doing the voiceover. Forever. And then that's the story of the beast, and that's how Smalls learns about the insanely large dog, the 75-year-old dog that's been living next door to the baseball diamond.
I didn't realize for some reason until I was doing the research for the movie that Timmy and Tommy Timmons' house is the one with the treehouse, which is directly next door to Mr. Myrtle.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know that was So wait, their house is the one that has the baseball diamond? in the
Their house
backyard?
is the one that has the tree house, but I don't know where the correlation is
Yeah,
to
it
where
has
the
to be on the
baseball
other
diamond
side of the yard
is.
then, right?
Or in like, it's gotta be right there.
It has to be in
somewhere.
the other, either like the back side or the other side
Yeah.
of the baseball
And I
diamond.
didn't realize that until I was reading about the set.
Yeah, I never thought about how the layout of the treehouse. I think in my mind, I always thought the treehouse was part of the baseball diamond field.
I think I did too. I don't know why I never connected that.
They
had
never
to be
tell you it's a
somewhere.
different field.
Yeah.
They never tell you it's a different part of the yard.
Yeah, you never really see any, like, you don't see aside when they're running, but you don't see like the panoramic view,
Yeah,
I
you don't
guess,
see a
of where
layout of
they
the
play
neighborhood.
and
Yeah.
the neighborhood layout.
Because half the story's on the baseball diamond, the other half is in the treehouse when they're trying to get the ball back later.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or I say like a quarter of the time is spent around the treehouse. Next, we get introduced to Wendy Peppercorn.
Oh, Wendy,
with
my
Squints
darling
and
lover girl.
Wendy and Wendy's walking down the street, and then Yaya and Squints are there, and Squints is madly in love with Wendy, and Wendy. And I love the part where they go back to the baseball diamond after because they're late, and they're like, "Hey, where were you guys?" And Yaya is like, he said Squints was perving a dish. Which is such a kid term.
It's such a kid. Yeah,
Again,
it's so
I don't
great.
know if that's a 60s term, but it's so funny hearing Yaya say that about Squints. Yeah, he's perving a dish.
Shut up, I wasn't.
I have a lot on my mind.
He sounds like such an adult there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing paperwork or something.
So, it's really hot out. The kids don't want to play baseball. Ham is drinking a soda and he's sweating to death.
I'm
He's
baking like
"Come
a
on,
toasted
Benny."
cheeser.
Yeah. Come on, Benny. It's so hot. Nobody wants to play baseball, and Benny's the only one that wants to play.
Benny would play literally all day.
Yeah,
every
they
day.
even say that in the narration. Like, Benny would play all day, all year.
Yeah.
But the only other thing that Benny would want to do is go to the local pool when it's too hot.
To get some pool honeys.
To get some pool honey. So this is where they go to the pool, and
But the funniest part is the way Benny like tries to like shame them into going. Like,
yeah.
who wants to be a can't hack it panty waist who wears their
Your
mom's bra?
And
they're
all
like,
the kids raise their hand.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, all the kids raise their hand immediately.
I love it. Because
So-
he's so trying to like shame them. Like,
Yeah.
no, we're gonna play baseball.
Yep. So we get the pool scene and just some quick things about the whole pool scene. It was actually really hot where they were filming for the most part. Most days were incredibly
Above 100.
Yeah, above 100 degrees. The one day that they went to go film the pool scene, it was actually overcast and 56 degrees, which made the water was 56 degrees.
No, the temperature was 56 degrees or 52 or something like that outside.
Yeah, it was,
So it was
a lot
freezing.
colder that day.
And the funny thing is, you would think, well, why don't they just like redo it on a different day? But they filmed the entire movie in order of the movie.
Yeah.
So in sequence, which
Yeah.
most films don't do that now.
And they filmed it in 42 days.
Yeah,
from what I
that's
saw, which is
crazy.
not a lot of time. Some scenes were filmed just in 2 days for some of the larger scenes, which is crazy. The director, Evans, says that you can actually see Squint's teeth chattering while he's staring longly at Wendy Peppercorn
You totally can.
from the pool. So they all hop into the pool, and Squint's, it's one of those things that you see, but you don't really think about it. And then I read that, and I was like, man, that's so weird that they say that, because you can definitely tell Squints is freezing.
And
in
the
that
funny
pool.
thing was, I always realized that, but that he was so cold and his teeth were always chattering. And I think when I've seen it in the past, I always thought maybe it was just nerves. But now you realize
Yeah.
it was
he's actually
freezing
freezing,
cold.
and they kept it in. Like, I guess they didn't have another shot there.
I think that's
for
I think
that.
that's cute though. I think
Yeah.
that's it. Just looks he just looks
And
so
he
natural.
looks so
which
cold.
He is, I guess.
He looks so cold in the
He
pool,
does.
though.
His lips are like blue.
Yeah, and that's because it was so cold when they were filming that scene. So, but this is where we get another infamous scene, which has been made into a meme a bunch of times now with Squints' smile.
Oh yeah.
But Squint says, "That's it. I've had enough." And so he goes on a diving board.
I like that, but I love that he's so frustrated. Like there she is lotioning and oiling.
Yeah.
like she's trying to like tempt
Yeah.
him. or something.
Yeah, he's like so annoyed that she's always up there lotioning and oiling. And he just gets more and more mad. So finally he says, "That's it, I'm done." So then he takes off his glasses, he goes onto the diving board, and then dives in and pretends to drown.
The best part is when he's actually drowning in quotes.
Mhm.
He's holding onto his glasses still.
Oh,
He
is
never
he?
lets go of those glasses. Like he's in the bottom of the pool, glasses still in hand.
So who else but Wendy Peppercorn comes in Does Wendy save him? I forget. Or was
Wendy
it?
gets him out of the pool.
Okay.
They make a point to tell you he can't swim.
Yeah.
Right? He goes off the diving board in the deep end and he cannot swim.
Yeah.
So they start screaming and she automatically is like just goes into lifeguard mode and grabs him out of the pool.
Yeah. So then he pretends he can't breathe. There's water in his lungs and stuff. So Wendy is giving him CPR.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. CPR. Wendy's giving him CPR, and then after about 3 times, Squints, she goes to listen to his breath on his chest, and then everybody's looking at Squints. Wendy can't see Squints, and Squints just opens his eyes and smiles.
And they're all
craziest
like, huh?
smile ever. And everybody takes a step back, and it's like, huh? And everybody just pauses for a second, and then he closes his eyes again when Wendy comes back up to give him mouth to mouth, and then he kisses Wendy when she gives him mouth to mouth again, and everybody's like, oh my god.
Well, the director actually made a point to tell him, the actor, do not use your tongue.
Yeah.
When you are kissing her. Which is like, this child is like 13 years old.
And I think Wendy was supposed to be 15 or 16 in the movie, but she's a lot older. I don't know if the actress is a lot older, but she looks older than
She definitely looks older
15, yeah. So I don't know how old the actress was. But I think in the story, Wendy's supposed to be about 15
Wow.
or 16. From what I read. Could be wrong, but I think that's what I heard. So he kisses Wendy, and then Wendy kicks him out, kicks everybody out of the pool.
You know, it's kind of unfair that everybody gets a lifetime ban because Squints wanted to kiss Wendy Peppercorn.
Yeah, so they get a lifetime ban. But right before they leave, Wendy smiles at Squints.
Yeah, with that
through
little
the fence.
tip of her sunglasses.
Tip of her sunglasses. And then smiles at him. And then Squints is super happy with.
And I think, don't they say that every time they walk past, since then she smiles every time?
Every time. They're playing baseball later on, and then I don't think we ever even know who these kids are, but the kids that are from an actual baseball team come riding up on their bikes. Great. They're like the bullies of the baseball diamond.
Yeah.
They come up, they're like the rich kids that have uniforms, they have baseball uniforms, they have really nice bikes. So they come up riding onto the baseball diamond. Crew that we're used to with Benny and all them drop their gloves, they throw their gloves on the ground.
They look so angry.
They're so angry, yeah. All these 12 and 13-year-olds are super mad, so they all start throwing their gloves on the ground and start walking over. So then this one group is facing off against this other group, and they start insulting each other. It's mostly Ham and the leader of the other group on the bike.
They ever say his name?
No, like you don't know who these people are at all. They never say a name. They never say like a group that they are, their school or anything. I think he just says something about we have a real baseball diamond.
Yeah, we play on a real diamond.
Yeah,
quarter.
so assuming that they're from like a school or something, a group, is really start insult each other with some classic. I don't know if they're 60s insults, but some of them good ones are scab eater, bus licker, and then the leader of the
rival
baseball team. He's like, you bought for apples in a toilet, and you like it.
And you mix your Wheaties with your mama's toe jam.
Yeah. Some really good insults thrown back and forth between these two groups.
And apparently they were improvised by David, Mickey Adams, whatever. And he was just kind of feeding them to him as they were doing the scene. That's what I heard, which I think is even more hilarious.
I'm sure there's a bunch of takes of them saying stuff to each other. Yeah. They took the best ones.
Yeah, they were really good.
Or the best acted ones anyway. But then the classic line that another classic from this movie, everybody's like, whoa, he's like, you play ball like a girl.
Yeah.
And everybody's
that
like,
was like the worst insult ever.
The worst insult that you can say to a 13-year-old who's like playing baseball every summer for his whole life. So obviously the rival gang is not happy with that, and he's like taken aback. He's like takes a breath in. He's like, "What did you say?" He's like astounded that somebody said he plays ball. That child
looked so offended. Yeah, like you just punched him in the gut.
Even his buddies, the one person's gum pops, I think, when he says it or something. Everybody in each group is like taken aback that he said it, and then Ham is smiling there because everybody's quiet. And then they challenge him.
That was like shots fired, like drop moment.
Yeah, and then they challenge him to a baseball game the next day. The next day, our crew with Benny goes to play against the rival crew at their baseball diamond, which is like a nicer diamond and stuff like that. So they go to play them, and this is one of the scenes that was you can pretty much almost tell right away that it was improvised the whole time. They just kind of set up a camera and just did a bunch of lines and see which one stuck. Was the one where Ham is the catcher and he's talking to all the batters.
Yeah.
You can tell that he probably said like 50 different things, and they took the best ones out of that group because it's just Ham and the kid. They never cut away or anything. It's just Ham and the batter all the time. So they probably said a bunch of different lines. And from what I heard, this was improv by Ham's actor. It was him coming up with the lines to say to the batters. So I'm sure they recorded a bunch and they took the best ones. But my favorite one is that your sister out there in left field naked, which is my favorite line of their whole improv scene there. That was my favorite.
And the best was after the batter, I think it was the main character from the other team, was so angry. And he's like, think she should go out with me?
Yeah, right after he gets like a strike or whatever. Think she go out with me? So our crew with Benny ends up winning that game, obviously. I don't know if they show you the score, but they make it seem like they just like absolutely destroyed them. So they go to the carnival to celebrate. And the nerdy kid, who I cannot remember his name, the tall nerdy kid with the glasses.
Bertram
Grover. Such
Weeks.
a fitting name for that character. They're getting ready to go on some rides, and Bertram's like, "Oh, guys, I almost forgot," and he pulls out giant bag of chewing tobacco. Because apparently that was popular with kids back.
Wait, not
in
Big
the 60s.
Chew? What's it called?
No, Big Chew's the gum, but it's called like something chew. Large chew or something like that, but they make a scene to like zoom in on it, so I don't know if it was like a product placement thing.
No, because it was a made up name.
Oh, it was a made up name? Okay.
It was
but
based
they like zoom
off
in
of
on
two
it.
different things. What the heck was it called?
It was a four worded name.
I need to stop.
You can look it up if you want. It's fine.
It's gonna drive me crazy.
So Bertram pulls out a giant bag of Big Chief, which is chewing tobacco.
Which Smalls, again, never heard of it.
Smalls has no idea what it is. And they're like, all the pros do it or something like that. They try and talk Smalls into doing it because they want to seem cool. One thing about the chewing tobacco from the movie is that it was actually made out of licorice and bacon bits.
I was wondering, was it black licorice and bacon bits? Because that's...
I think any licorice and bacon bits is...
so gnarly.
Yeah, the kids said that combined to riding the carnivals for the amount of takes that they did, they felt pretty much as sick as they would if they did take chewing tobacco. Which makes sense because bacon bits and licorice does not sound like a great combo at all.
I mean, it's one of my favorites.
Oh, God.
Just kidding. Obviously.
It's so gross.
It is nasty.
Yeah, I think I'd rather take chewing tobacco over licorice and bacon
I'd rather
bits.
take the gum cancer.
over my favorite part is if you watch Bertram, he takes an insane amount.
Oh, he's got his whole cheek full.
Yeah,
oh my god.
His cheek is full, and then he takes another bite.
He's like a squirrel hoarding nuts.
He has so much chew in his mouth, and it's so gross. They go on some rides, and then they get sick, which is just a gnarly scene of them.
It's so gross.
Yeah, I'd skip that part. I didn't watch it. I watched up until they started chewing tobacco, and they skipped the whole next part to where they got sick.
It's not a fun scene. That's for sure.
but
I think that if I remember correctly, the vomit in the scene is like pea soup and like a bunch of other things, but it reminded me of like The Exorcist because they use pea soup in like The Exorcist, and that's what it reminded me. But then I do like when Ham gets off the ride and he just does that giant belch and like, that's much better.
Yeah, and his shirt is covered in barf and there's barf all over the ground.
It's so gross. And they throw up on other people.
Yeah, on other people. Oh.
That part is so gross.
Such a gross. I definitely skipped it. I can't deal with vomit in movies most of the time.
Yeah, it's not fun.
So after the 4th of July scene, which is
one of my favorites.
Jen's favorite scene, after they play the one night game,
Under the Fireworks,
which is a really cool scene. It transitions into another day that they're playing. It might be the next day. We're not really sure. It doesn't really say. But they transition to the next day where Ham hits a home run over into the Beast's yard, and they lose the ball. And everybody's pissed at Ham.
Because they had just started playing.
Yeah, they just started playing. And he's like, now we can't play no more. And he's like, you got 98 cents laying around your house? And it sounds like such a small number.
I actually tried to look up what, like, if that was actual, like, the cost
how much
of a
it
ball
cost in
back then, and there
1960.
was nothing that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Talked about it.
I can imagine a baseball costing 98 cents back in the day.
It's probably like $4 now for one.
Yeah. So yeah, they're all mad, and they're like, "You got 98 cents laying around at your house to go get a ball? Nobody has any money to go get a baseball." So Smalls, the genius that he is, says, "Oh, I'll go get a ball." And at this point,
but you realize before this, he has no idea who Babe Ruth is.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
He knows nothing about baseball.
Yeah. He pretended like he knew who Babe Ruth was earlier in the movie when he first met the crew, but he has no idea who Babe Ruth is.
But you would think, knowing that it's on Bill's pedestal thing in the room, that it has to have some significance. And he's like, don't care, we just need a ball.
Yeah, this whole time he actually thinks Babe Ruth is a woman. Baby Ruth.
Baby Ruth.
He thinks it's
Ruth somebody.
So Smalls goes and takes the treasure ball out of his stepdad's trophy
room,
case because his stepdad is away on business. So he says, "I'll go grab the ball." So he goes to grab the ball. Everybody's starts playing again.
Your ball, you're up.
Small is up. Small gives the pitcher the ball. I can't remember the pitcher's name either.
Kenny DeNunez.
Kenny DeNunez, yeah. Gives him a nice one down the middle, and Smalls just knocks it right
into the beast
right
yard.
over into the beast yard again. 2 balls in a row, just right over to the beast. And everybody's cheering, everybody's freaking out because Smalls hit his first home run, and Smalls is just
and this is where
doesn't
you
even finish
see
running the
him.
bases.
He just like turns sheet white and like
Yeah.
looks like he's gonna vomit.
Yeah, by the time he gets to like second base, he starts walking towards the fence, and Ham is just trying to get him. He's like, "Smalls."
I think they
Smalls.
think he's so shocked that
Yeah.
he hit a home run when in reality he's like, I'm dead meat.
Yeah. So and then they show the ball over in the yard, just covered in dirt and stuff, and then he kind of like gets towards the fence, and he's trying to think of like, oh shit, what did I just do, and stuff like that. And he's trying to tell the kids what's wrong and why that was a huge deal.
What do you mean that wasn't your ball?
Yeah, he's like, that wasn't my ball, because he thinks it's just he thinks he's getting in trouble because he just lost one of his dad's baseballs. And the kids are, and he's like, no, you don't understand. It wasn't my ball. They start questioning him about the ball, and he's like, I don't know. It's signed by some lady. They're like, lady? He's like, yeah, some lady named Ruth. Baby Ruth. And they're all like, Babe Ruth. And they all start screaming, and they all hop onto the fence and like take position. Like Squints gets in position to like watch for
and
them.
through
and
the
stuff.
hole.
Yeah,
right?
through the hole, and they all start looking. And then they, I think they see the beast take the ball again.
This might be where the ball comes in and takes the ball. Yeah.
And it takes the ball. And they're all like, the ball is gone forever, man. And they're all, and he's like, there's no getting that back. And then he's like faints almost. He's like, all right, give him some air, because obviously he just realized who Babe Ruth is. And they tell him he's,
the greatest.
the same. It was the same person they were talking about at the campfire, or at the camp out. So this is where he kind of freaks out. And this is where we get the biggest pickle of his life introduction. This is the situation that he's been hinting at the whole movie.
Because now he has a certain time period that before Bill gets back, he has got to figure out a way to get this ball back.
Yeah, he's got to get the ball back from the beast before his dad gets back from his work trip. So in the meantime, the kids go get a ball. Benny signs Babe Ruth on it to use as a decoy because his mom hopefully doesn't see it. He goes to put the ball back in the trophy case, and this is where his mom catches him right as he's doing it. And of course she comes in and says, has he always told you about that ball? As it's just a brand new clean ball sitting there with Benny's signature of Babe Ruth on it. So the decoy works. It's up in the trophy case, and now they have to get the ball back. He was
very upset though that his mom knew who Babe Ruth was. And
he's like, my mom, a grown woman, a grown-up girl, knew who Babe Ruth was. Now they start coming up with these inventions and experiments to get the ball back.
Real quick, because they're doing all this at the treehouse.
Right, yeah, they're treehouse.
Fun fact about the treehouse.
Probably the same one I have.
The leaves?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Go ahead.
So the tree that they used was like a dead tree, whatever the guy was disposing of it or something, whatever you do with dead trees, I don't know. So in order to make sure the leaves were alive through the whole scene, while they're trying to shoot this, they made 1 million leaves out of satin and wire and put them all on this tree.
Holy crap.
Can you imagine? That's dedication.
Imagine being the people hired to make all those leaves.
That's literally the first thing I thought about was like, that is miserable.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, people do it all the time, fake plants, but
can you million of them? Jeez.
A million of them.
Yeah. One thing about the tree too, they couldn't find a tree to hold the tree house that was big enough, because apparently back then a tree that size to hold it out was like hundreds of thousands of dollars back then. You can't just go cut one down. So what ended up happening was I think it was either the director, David, or somebody else from the crew actually was at their house, and next door somebody was cutting down their tree.
I know there was something to do with the
tree. One of his neighbors was cutting down the tree, and he was like, and he asked his neighbor, he's like, hey, what are you doing to that tree? He's like, nothing, I'm just trying to get rid of it off my lawn. And he's like, can I have it? And he's like, yeah, you can take it. So they got a free tree, and it became one of the most iconic spots in Sandlot. This is a really sick tree house. That's probably one of the best tree houses I've ever seen. It fits like 9 kids in there. With
it's
room.
Huge.
Yeah, it's and it has a deck on the outside, which is super cool. It's like one of the best tree houses I've ever seen. So they start doing their experiments, try to get the ball back. Almost all the scenes, Squints is on top of the tree house being the lookout. And I love Squints because every time one of these experiments fails, Squints' only job is to just hold on to the railing and scream as loud as he can every time something goes wrong. So the first experiment, they do a couple simple things. They grab a stick and stuff like that, and the beast ruins every experiment to try and get the ball back, or ruins all these inventions. And each time the beast attacks or something like that, or messes up their plan, Squints just looks down and screams. And he just and he takes a breath in a couple times. He just keeps going and all the kids start screaming. So every time something goes wrong, the kids just all start screaming.
Because there's always this like inevitable, humongous deal when it like and this is where you really see the imagination of kids, because you would think this thing was.
They make you believe this dog is an actual mutant dog.
Yeah.
This is where you get a really good view of the dog puppet. Because at one point it's attacking a ladder or like one of the
attacks the erector set that they made to try to fling the ball over.
Yeah, and you only see the dog from the top, but the dog is munching on the erector set.
And then it tosses it.
Yeah, it is such an evil looking dog. It's like one of the
Cujo
creepiest
on steroids.
Yeah, it's one of the creepiest looking dog puppets I've ever seen. But one of my favorite inventions they come up with is the vacuum tube.
Oh, that's a good one.
The vacuum tube is really good. They connect 3 vacuums to try and suck the ball up. So when they finally pick the ball up, the creature comes out and bites the tube with the air. And then
is this when Squints is like, it's pinched?
Yeah. So I had to, so they're trying to pick it up. It gets pinched, and then the kids in the treehouse don't know what's going on. And the kids on the outside are like, Squints, what's going on? And for some reason, Squints still whispering. The dog's already out attacking everything, and Squints just tells him it's pinched, and he's whispering.
The way he says it, though, is like, it's pinched.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
There's no way anybody heard him. He's whispering as the dog's attacking the vacuum. So I don't know why he's still whispering there. I thought that was really funny though. They do this classic thing in a movie where like they could easily just shut off the vacuums. They would just shut off in real life, but they're like, oh, they're shorting out.
Yeah,
and like it should still turn off. There's no way they're just gonna sit on while they're sucking in no air. All the kids realize that the vacuums are gonna explode, so everybody starts trying to get out of the treehouse. This is another great scene where Ham's on the ladder, and instead of Ham going down the ladder, he's just sitting at the top of the ladder, blocking it from all the other kids, and he's screaming at the top of the ladder. And so the kids start doing front flips off the treehouse railing. They start doing front flips off of it, and then Ham, instead of climbing down, he goes, ah! And then he just lets go of the ladder. Ham lets go of the ladder and just falls backwards while everybody else is doing front flips off the edge of the treehouse. So I love that scene too, because Ham's an idiot in that part. But then one of the twins, I think Tommy,
the older one,
gets stuck in a treehouse, the vacuums explode, and he gets covered in dust and stuff like that. But I just put here, no adults heard that tree explode. That
is the one thing that I like. Okay, if Mr. Myrtle lives next door,
yeah, Mr. Myrtle hears all this.
He never
happening.
Comes out and is like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah, that's one of the things that's probably the most unbelievable aspect is just that neighbor just listening to all this, because even at the end he's like, "You guys all causing that racket."
Yeah, and that's the part. I mean, there's not many flaws with this movie.
Yeah,
but that's when like these kids are just. Maybe the parents are all at work. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, everybody's at work because it's direct.
But you mean to tell me nobody heard this?
Yeah, nobody called the cops about an explosion.
Nobody's like, is somebody dead?
Yeah.
What is happening?
It's the 60s, so maybe they just didn't care as much back then when they heard explosions. But one of the next inventions they come up with is they lift him up with a rope.
And are they using like a big wheel or something?
Yeah,
like
Ham's on like a big wheel as like the guy that drags him up and down with his legs. So he's on like a baseball, the catcher. Catcher gear he has
like
on.
Umpire gear or catcher gear,
and he's tied to a rope, and they lift Yaya over the fence. Yaya easily could have just thrown the ball back when he gets it in this part.
I was thinking that too.
He holds it for so long,
and then he has it.
He has it in his hand. Yeah, this is another part I didn't like about the movie. This is the one part that got me.
I'm not kidding you. On the things that I don't like, those were the two things.
Yeah.
One, about nobody acknowledging the noise, and two, that Yaya just drops the dang ball when it's in his hand.
Yeah, it's such a movie moment that
instead of just being like whoop, throw it back to the gang.
Yeah, it would have been. I think it would have been better if he tries to throw it back and then the dog catches it like he does later.
Yeah,
I think that would have been cool. But obviously, maybe just it didn't work out. But the dog is right in front of Yaya's face when he has the ball in his hand, and then they all start screaming. Yaya starts screaming, and then they lift Yaya up, and as he's getting lifted up, he drops the ball back into the thing. When Yaya had his hand for like 5 seconds, he could have just went like this and threw it behind his head. and it would have been right over the fence.
But then the movie would be over.
Then the movie would be over, yeah. So it obviously needed to happen. I didn't like the way it happened. And then yeah, comes over the fence and he's hanging in the air over the yard.
Screaming.
He goes, ah! And then he does this thing with his lips and his mouth and his finger. He goes, which is one of my favorite. It's one of the stupidest scenes that right before, but then one of my favorite scenes is Yaya hanging in the air, going.
And that's so funny because I saw that movie so many times and never caught that.
Yeah.
And then I think a couple of years, because I've probably seen this movie, I'm not even kidding you, probably at least 50 times.
Yeah.
Not exaggerating. And a couple of years ago, I saw that and I was like, oh my, and it's so funny to me that he does it. I think it's hilarious.
It's like a signal that he's supposed to do when like something's wrong, but like nobody else does it. He's the only one and nobody acknowledges it.
I think it was just sheer terror. I didn't know what else to do.
It's such a good scene. It's just so dumb.
It's so random.
Yeah, it's so
I'm
random.
really curious if that was in the script or he just
I wonder if he just improv'd it, but it's such one of my favorite scenes is him just hanging there doing that with his finger. So then we get I think the last invention that they come up with, which is the erector set and the remote control car. Smalls uses his erector set to make a little track, and then he sends down this little robot to try and get the ball. So the actually works. The contraption picks up the ball and it shoots it over the fence. And you can see here the way they shot it. The ball is coming towards them in the air, and then the dog puppet comes up over the fence, and now the ball is going left to right instead of front to back. So they completely changed the direction of the ball to go into the dog's mouth. But I mean, it was pretty limited.
And the dog had a vertical of like 12 feet.
Yeah, the dog's mouth is huge. It's the puppet mouth again, and it eats the ball and catches it. So that's the last invention they tried, and they pretty much just kind of give up at this point. Yeah, they're all pretty defeated. They go home with their heads like hung. They all come walking out of the fence with all their military gear on, all their helmets and stuff, all their crazy helmets they had on. And this is where Benny has a dream.
This is a good scene too. This is a really good scene.
Yeah, probably one of the greatest scenes. A dream where Babe Ruth comes to visit him out of his closet as a ghost, and he pretty much tells Benny, you have to try tomorrow. You have to try to get that ball. Yeah, you have to try and get the ball back. And he gets the famous line, heroes get remembered, but legends never die. That is a great line. Which has been said for hundreds of thousands of times since this movie has come out. At one point before he goes back into the closet, Babe Ruth picks up a Hank Aaron card and he goes, I don't know why, but can I have this? Yeah, and so if you look back, and I think it's in kind of like a nod to this, but Hank Aaron was the person who eventually beat Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of like a nod to that. Like, I'm going to take this card because this guy's going to be something. Next scene, we get Benny putting on his running shoes, I think. Or those like PF Flyers. The PF Flyers, yeah. So cool. Yeah, the PF Flyers. They actually made him come back after this movie came out. Yeah. But he's the only one that wears the all black, the black on black PF Flyers, and they're so cool. I love that he put a brand new pair of shoes on because he has to go get the beast. Yeah. And it's kind of like one of those things where you think back, it's like, this will make me faster, right? Because you're a kid, you think like... Yep. You think shoes will make you faster. Yeah. Benny puts on his brand new pair of shoes to go. His plan is to jump over the fence, grab the ball, and run back out. Yep. And... Smalls is like, you can't do this. It's all my fault. And Benny's like, I have to. Yeah, everybody's telling him, like, it's suicide. Suicide, Benny. I think Squints is like, it's suicide, Benny. Like, they all think, like, because they have this thing where they like said... dog is literally going to maul him to death because of over a baseball. They have this one theory that one kid went over the fence and disappeared and never came back. So that's why they're all so scared of him not coming back. Folklore legend. Yeah, there's one tale of a kid that went over. Yeah. But I think Benny's even the one that said that's not true, or that's bullshit, or whatever. That was at the camp out, right? Yeah, so Benny might not even believe that. But Benny's idea is to just jump over the fence, grab the ball, and come back. So Benny takes off, gets over the fence. He's kind of looking around. The dog's in his dog home. What's it called? A dog house? Dog house. He's in the dog house. Dog home. He's in the dog. He's in his dog home. He's in the dog house, and you don't see him at first. And then while Benny's sitting there, the dog comes out. The beast. He jumps the fence too, doesn't he? Yeah, later on. But the beast to chase him. Yeah, the beast comes out of his dog house, and it's a mastiff. Some sort of mastiff, yeah. Yeah, it's a mastiff breed. Pretty big dog, but obviously not the puppet-sized dog that they all think. Not the mutant dog. Yeah. And the dog comes out with the ball in his mouth, drops it on the ground and pretty much like challenges
Like
Benny.
tempting him.
Yeah, to come
Grab
get it. And then the ball's covered in slobber. It's super gross looking.
It's really gross.
Really gross. So Benny takes off, grabs the ball, turns around, and gets over the fence with the ball. And all the kids are cheering and stuff. And like, oh, you did it. And then here comes Cujo. Cujo jumps over this.
His name is Hercules.
Hercules comes over. It's like at least 6 foot fence.
It's a big
at
fence.
least. And there's nothing that propels this dog over. He goes from the ground.
I told you, he's got an amazing vertical.
Over a 6 foot fence. So obviously another movie trope, but the dog just clears his fence, goes right over, and starts chasing Benny. So Benny runs away, and the dog, who we find out later is Hercules, is his name, starts chasing Benny through the neighborhood while the kids are trying to catch up to them.
They're running forever.
Yeah, they do run for a long time. But one thing I couldn't stop noticing was just the dog's giant nuts. As he's running, every time there's a scene,
I wasn't gonna comment.
I have
you
to.
Can see him like, oh,
I can't be the only. I can't be the only one. You see it multiple times. This dog's nuts are just banging back and forth while he's running.
The fact that you made note of this and
I
wanted
had
to chat about it is
there's no way people
disturbing slightly.
People didn't notice this. It's just right in your face the entire time this chase scene's happening. Benny pretty much goes through the whole town with the dog behind him chasing him. And the one part he runs into the movie theater and the dog just completely shatters the window on the door. It goes right through. It's obviously fake glass, you can see, but I mean, this dog's a psycho. He just jumps through the glass.
He just wants to play ball.
Yeah, he just really wants that ball back. This is the only part of the movie where I had a note about like the filming and stuff. They do these random explosion transitions during this chase scene where like it'll like to transition to the next scene. There's a sound of an explosion or a gun going off. I think it's more close to what it sounds like, and then it like does this like transition where it explodes into the next scene. It goes like black.
I don't know if I call
transition, which is really random. I think. I mean, it kind of works, but it was just one of the few times they do a random transition like that through the chase scene. But like I said, I think it works. It just was really random. I took note of. And so they run through the whole town. There's a couple really funny scenes with the cake guys trying to get the cake, and Ham takes a swig of the cake icing off of it while he's running by and stuff like that. So it's a really cool chase scene.
And you have the little girl. Ooh, a doggy.
Yeah, that's a boy. I think it was a boy.
Was it?
Yeah, yeah. And he's like, oh, a dog, and it runs by. Ah! So the dog runs through the whole neighborhood with Benny. Benny tells everybody to go back to the Sandlot. Benny takes the dog all the way around the neighborhood back to the Sandlot at the end of their chase. This is the one part where we see the dog actually bite Benny.
Yeah,
he bites his jersey.
Yeah.
Which I was gonna ask, what do you think what the dog would do if he got Benny? You think he would have bit him?
Yeah.
Like the dog would have attacked him? Because I feel like this is the only part I was confused on. Because of what happens later, I don't know if the dog would have bit him or just tried to get the ball.
I think
he's like a territorial dog in his yard, but he was out of the yard now. So
I don't know if he would have attacked him necessarily, but he definitely wouldn't have been pleased.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what would have happened to Benny if he got caught, because the dog does try to bite him, but
he just really wanted him to stop and give him back the ball.
Yeah, he really wanted that ball back.
I want my ball back. That's all the dog wants.
Benny gets actually ends up running back into Hercules' yard.
He hopped the fence again, right?
Yeah, he hops the fence again. And this time we get the dog hopping over the fence again. Except this time when he hops over the fence, because Benny was hopping on it so much and like pushing on it so hard, while the dog's sitting in the yard next to the fence and Benny is back at the doghouse, the fence collapses on top of Hercules.
Poor Hercules.
So, and again, the neighbor the whole time never.
It's literally his own yard.
The owner never heard the dog fence collapse.
I mean, he's blind, but he can hear things.
So you never see the neighbor this whole time, but the fence collapses on the dog. Smalls is the first one to help the dog. He's like, "Come on, guys, we gotta help him." And all that. I think the kids are still scared of him.
I think Benny goes over to help him. Right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the kids are scared. That's why they don't want to help him. But Smalls and Benny lift the fence off Hercules. Hercules comes out, gets out from under the fence. A very short, tense scene where Hercules is staring down Smalls right in front of his face.
Yeah.
But then Hercules just starts licking Smalls' face. And then Hercules turns around and walks away. And that's kind of it. That's why I was confused. Like, would he have attacked Benny if...
He goes over and unburies all the balls, right?
He shows them where all the baseballs are after that.
Because apparently he's hoarding them in like a hole. But yeah, I don't know. I think because he helped him when he was hurt. I mean, he's a dog. He's like, oh, that's, he wants to be my friend.
Yeah. That's why I was just confused on that, but
I think
who
you're
knows?
looking too far into it.
Yeah, I know. So
speculating.
So the kids take the dog to the neighbor's front back door, I guess. They take him to the back door, Mr. Myrtle's back door. They knock on it, and this is where you finally see who the neighbor is. He's a blind man, played by Darth Vader.
Played by James Earl
James Earl Jones.
Who also played Darth Vader.
No, it's Darth Vader, played by James Earl Jones.
They're greeted by Darth Vader.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, you're the kids that are causing all that racket outside. Because this guy's just been ignoring everything that's been happening in his yard for the past year. And this is one of my favorite parts. All the kids are standing around. Benny and Smalls are at the back door, and then all the kids are back by the fence. And Mr. Myrtle goes, why don't you just knock on the door? I would have got it for you. And everybody starts attacking Squints.
Because somebody did say that earlier in the movie.
Because Smalls was like, why don't we just knock on the door? He's like, you can't do that. It's the meanest old man you ever seen.
He's the meanest old man alive.
He's the one that fed the kid to the dog. Something like that. So they all get mad at Squints, and then Squints is like, how am I supposed to know that?
I just think it's great that he knows right away that this is a ball that's going to get Smalls in big trouble, right? So
yeah, because he used to play with the Mr. Myrtle, who was their neighbor next to the diamond, used to play.
Yeah, alluded that he played with Babe Ruth.
Played with Babe Ruth. Yeah, played with George.
And I think this was always my favorite part. I was like, I just want to sit and talk baseball with somebody that played. That was so cool, right? And the kids were just fascinated with all the memorabilia he had in the house. And a sad fact, though, is that from what I read, there was no way in this year that he would have been able to play with Babe Ruth because the league wasn't integrated at the time.
Yeah, I think I did hear that.
Which is kind of, that's a sad fact anyway. But
yeah.
But I love that he alluded to that, and they figure out how he went blind because he got hit with the ball. But yeah, I think that scene is a really cool scene. And he basically says, I'm going to give you this really cool ball to
with
replace
every
your
single
Babe Ruth. It was like
Yankee
Murderer's
player.
Row. And he was going to give them that ball to replace the beat up ratty old Babe Ruth ball if they came and talked baseball with him.
Mr. Myrtle gives him a ball signed by the entire team instead of just Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
So he trades him that ball for the kids coming over to talk baseball once a week with him, which is I agree with you. It was a really cool scene. Really good way to end that predicament. So Smalls gets the ball from him, gives it to his dad. Obviously, his dad's not super happy that Babe Ruth ball got ruined, but he only grounds him for a week when he gives him the new ball.
Yeah,
with all the players that signed it. So their relationship is kind of mended at this point. They get pretty close after this. They start playing catch a lot and stuff like that. And then we get to the end of the movie, which I really liked. I like that they treated it like these were real people, where they did an outro for everybody.
Yeah.
They gave everybody a story for what happened afterwards.
And I love how the way they did it. Like they would tell about them, they catch the ball and then they kind of disappear off the field, which was really a cool way to kind of say goodbye to those characters.
Yeah. So David Mickey Evans, who is narrating as Smalls the whole time, comes back in to narrate at the end and tells you what happened to every character at the end of the movie. And one of my favorite one is how Bertram got really into the 60s and just disappeared. Nobody ever heard from him again. So Bertram apparently just completely disappeared off of everybody's radar from the baseball diamond. Or Hercules is there watching now. He has a t-shirt on with his name Hercules on it. So Hercules was with the kids for a little bit longer while they were all still there. Smalls narrates that Squints went on to have 9 kids with Wendy Peppercorn after all that. So Squints got a happy ending with a ton of kids. So good for Squints. But this is where the ending of the movie ties back into the beginning. So the very beginning of the movie, we see an old man or an older man walking through the baseball stadium, getting ready to go to his job.
You said an old man. He's like
That's why
35.
Older. That's why I said older man. So we get a scene in the beginning where a man is walking through a baseball stadium, and it kind of cuts back to the baseball diamond. You don't really know who it is yet. I don't think they actually say it's Smalls in the beginning, but at the end, it cuts back to Smalls, who is now much older in a announcer's box at a baseball stadium. And he starts talking, and they show him announcing. They show all the little memorabilia that he has on his little stand next to him. He has a picture of all the kids at the baseball diamond. He has a bunch of baseballs there with him. He has the Babe Ruth ball, the fake Babe Ruth ball that they signed. He has the dirty real Babe Ruth ball and then he has the baseball signed by everybody. So his stepdad gave him all 3, or gave him the 2 balls to keep. So that was really cool. You see Benny grown up now playing for the Dodgers, and he hits, or he's sitting on third base now. Smalls is announcing the game, and Benny tries to steal home. And this is where you get Benny getting a safe steal at home, and they end up winning
Benny
the game.
the Jet.
Yeah, they call him Benny the Jet Rodriguez. And you notice, and that's when you realize it's Benny and Smalls that are the last 2.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool to know the reveal that Smalls is the one up there announcing from the beginning of the movie going into the announcer's box. Benny looks up at the announcer box and gives Smalls a thumbs up, and then Smalls gives him another thumbs up back.
Older Benny is actually played by Mike Bitar's brother Pablo.
Right, so the younger
Real
Benny,
brothers, yeah.
Younger Benny actor, his brother played older Benny, which is crazy because they do look a lot alike.
Well, it's funny, I didn't know that for so many years, and I'm like, why do they look so much alike?
They do look
that
a lot
literally looks
alike.
like Benny grown up, and then
it looks like they put a mustache on Benny.
Yeah, you realize that's why they were actually related in real life.
Yeah, and even the Smalls,
I think it's brothers.
His Smalls older actor is also
they do look
really
alike
similar.
too.
And that's how we end one of the best baseball movies of all time.
It's definitely one of the most child friendly ones.
Yeah, one of the best coming of age stories I think we're ever gonna get. To end it off, like we kind of said, there were maybe 2 scenes in this whole movie that we didn't like.
Yeah.
Not even that we didn't like, but didn't seem very reasonable for a real life thing, which is fine. It's a movie. It's not always going to be 100% accurate. But overall, I don't know if this is a 10 out of 10 for me, but because 10 out of 10, I mean, is like, if I had to give a rating and I can't, and I don't want to give it a 10, it's like a 9.5 for me. Wow,
you were higher than me. I gave it a 9.
Gave it a 9. I think it's a 9.5 because there's really not much wrong with it.
See, and it's hard for me because I was like, is it a 10? Is it a 9? I really was torn, but I went with a 9 because it's
your perfect movie.
It's not my perfect movie.
Angels in the Outfield, Field of Dreams.
Angels in the Outfield. Are you crazy?
Yeah. So
now Field of Dreams. It's not quite Field of Dreams, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. So
I mean, honest to God, like this movie was a huge part of my childhood. I loved it.
Yeah, we also. I mean, you grew up watching it in the house. I grew up watching it in the house. Our parents grew up watching it in the house. Sandy, our other sister, Joe, we all watched it. Your kids watch it now.
It's Ethan's favorite movie.
I mean, Ethan's playing baseball now, so I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this has had a huge impact on so many people's lives. There are so many times where even people that haven't seen the movie still quote the movie.
Yeah, I think they said they interviewed, gosh, what is the kid's name who plays Ham? I knew this till right now, this second. But he gets it said to him 3 or 4 times a day, "You're killing me, Smalls."
Yeah.
Like still to this day.
And he's so recognizable. He still looks just like the child.
What's his name? Patrick Renna. I knew that till literally just now.
So yeah, this is such an iconic movie at this point. A lot of people said it's pretty much a cult classic now over the time since it came out. This movie came out exactly 30 years ago now at this point.
Yep.
So it's this thing still holds up too. We talked about this before, but this movie holds up really well for being made in 93 about a movie or about people in the 60s. It still holds up.
30 years sounds so long ago, doesn't it?
So yeah, 9.5 for me. It's almost a 10. There's maybe like 1 or 2 movies I think that are a 10 for me over this. So
it's really good. It's hard to nitpick. I mean, you're nitpicking.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
Find things wrong
We
with
nitpicked the 2 things that we didn't like about this movie. So yeah, if you haven't seen The Sandlot yet, or you have kids that haven't seen, I definitely suggest sitting down with them.
If you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the best family movies to watch as a family. We used to watch as a family a lot.
Yeah. When
it came on TV. So this is definitely one of those ones that you should watch with your kids or just watch with family members. It's a really good family movie. But that's gonna do it for The Sandlot. Feel free to let us know what you thought about Sandlot down below. I would love to hear from people who have seen this for the first time recently, or if you haven't seen it yet, and then you go watch it after listening to this. Let us know what you thought about it, and if you agree with our takes, our little nitpicks, and what we loved. So, all right, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
That's good.
Please don't keep buying there.
No, we'll keep buying there.
No, don't.